Coaching Soccer Weekly, episode 362. Chelsea Visit, part 3. Entertaining, educational, and inspiring soccer content to help make you a more effective coach, player, or soccer parent. Hello and welcome back to Coaching Soccer Weekly, presented by World Class Coaching. My name is Sega Brabinovic, and this is the podcast devoted to bringing you cutting-edge methods, techniques, and tactics for coaching soccer. It doesn't matter if you're an experienced coach who has been training teams for many years, or if you're new to coaching and working with a team for the very first time. There's something we can all do to take our coaching to the next level. Welcome back to the show. I'm excited to talk about the weekend, talk about the last part of my Chelsea trip, and some other stuff too, which I'll get into a little bit later on near the end of the show. Let's start off with, as I always do, Saturday with the first game. That first game was our 2012-2013 game, and that was against what I called last week the dirty team. And what was great about this was that I went through the proper channels. So talked to the head of the district, told him what happened last game. I think took it pretty far in the sense that I told him that if they were going to play like that again, we were just going to stop playing and not do that. Which I don't know if I agree with, to be honest, and I don't know if I actually would have done that if that was happening. But essentially, when I spoke to him, I really wanted him to understand the severity of the situation, because the last time we played them, it really wasn't a game of soccer. It was a game of them trying to hurt us and play dirty. So what happened, we showed up to the field. Their coach wasn't there. Their CEO, I guess, because they're a non-for-profit, I think, he was there, and I know him, so we spoke briefly, and he told me that he suspended the other coach, and we also got a really good ref because I spoke to the district. So the game was super clean. Great game. Ended up as a 3-3 tie. But the constant theme that I've been noticing with the 2014s all the way up to the 2012s is small mistakes. And the reason we're having these small mistakes is because we're a small academy. Let me explain. One of my favorite things that I got from Tom was players should be playing with other players of their likability. And when they're not, it's not really the right level for them. Unfortunately, we're not big enough that we can have multiple teams. So we have players that are making mistakes in these top leagues that had we had a B team and an A team, that wouldn't have happened. So every single goal this weekend, and I mean every single one against us, was mistakes. And it was preventable mistakes that had we had an A and a B team, and we were playing with our A team, those mistakes wouldn't have happened. Now, going into this summer, we're kind of going to have two teams. I think I might do a full episode on what's going to happen in the summer, just for other academy owners or, people with, because I know there are also clubs out there that are pretty small and looking to do something like this. So, yeah, there's some changes that we're going to do. We're still really going to have one team, but we're kind of going to have two teams. So I'll do an episode on that a little bit later on. But there will be some separation in the summer, which will allow us to kind of see how we do when we have players playing in different leagues and playing with other players of their likability. So that's something that I'm excited to see. Our 2010s played later on, and we were missing a lot of players. We were missing our defenders. So again, we put our forwards back there, and they just made some defensive mistakes. Ended up losing 5-3, but we had a lot more possession. And what's really great and makes me really believe that we're on the right track is in every single game, except for the 2011 game, we had moments of brilliance. We had moments that we were really able to build out of the back, do the right thing, And again, those were players that would be on our A team. So it's discouraging to lose, I'll be honest, constantly, or even tie games that we should have won. However, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. The academy is continuously growing, and hopefully by the summer, we'll continue to get more players at a high level that we can separate teams a little bit more. So 2013 tie, 2010 game, ended up losing 5-3. And again, that 2010 game was mostly our 2011 team as well. So our goalkeeper for our 2010 team is our 2011 goalkeeper. So Sunday came around, 2011, 2012 game was just really not good. We didn't do what gladiator teams should do. We didn't really keep possession. We didn't build out of the back correctly. We struggled through that whole game. And the reason, and this was consistent throughout all teams, was our wingers weren't starting high. So the only player, essentially, if you're playing a 2-3-1 or 3-4-1, which is what we're playing, there's only one player as a forward. So when you're passing the ball and you're trying to get the ball up, there's one target. However, if your wingers are high, then you've got 3 targets that allow you to get out of the back. So in the Zoom sessions that we had watching back with our VO, we really spoke about that and how we're going to start utilizing the wingers in the wide space more, but also to have them high. And I think that's going to make a really big difference for next week. Then the 2014 game, also not great, same issue as the 2013 game. Moments of brilliance, but couldn't really get out because our wingers were back. Also, our goalkeeper wasn't there, so that was a huge deal because our goalkeepers have done so well in games. On top of that, I don't know what it is, but we have a decent amount of players that are actually going through concussion protocol now. And what's also interesting about that is none of that had to do with soccer injuries. They were all school injuries or playing with their friends. So it's really interesting that, we're going through a lot of these concussion protocol stuff, but it has nothing to do with getting injured in our session, which I think is really interesting. So our center mid, for example, he just came back, so returned to play, and he got a slight little knock on the head, so I took him off, and he didn't play the rest of the game. And when he went off, that kind of took out the game, which he's been with me for such a long time, so he's such a central part of that 2014 team. So I do want to make a recommendation here where if you're a coach, club owner, district owner, if you're in any part associated with a club, I think it's really important to find someone who specializes in concussions, and we have that. So whenever I hear a parent, and we've had some parents come in and tell us about their kids going through concussion right now, I will send them to someone that I know is an expert in concussions. And I'll give you an example. One of the players, got hurt. Mom sent me a text message. He was complaining about headache and stuff like that, all the symptoms of concussions. He went to the doctor. Doctor said rest a few days and then he can come back. And I said, okay, that's fine, but I want you to see our concussion specialist first. And once she gives you the okay, then you can come back. So that's kind of the process that we're going through now, because it's very simple to go through the doctor. I think it's too easy a lot of the time. Doctors aren't, I don't know. I can't speak about doctors, and I'm not a medical expert. But from what I found that doctors have allowed players to come in way too early. It's not just rest 3-4 days and you're back in. That's not how concussions work. There's a lot of tests that you need to do, and you need to find someone that can do that. And just a Google search will get you there. What I did was I actually we go through one of the parents in our academy. So that's, I think, your first network that you should look at. Send an email out, hey parents, just wanted to ask if there were any parents that are in concussion protocol or have gone through the concussion courses. There's lots of different concussion courses. And obviously they have to be actual physicians as well. So they can't just be a parent that goes through a concussion course. That's not how that works. They have to be a medical practicing doctor, and they have to have the equipment necessary to test for it. So that's really what we're looking at from the concussion point of view. Now, shout out to Vio, who, again, really this weekend, I couldn't really figure out what was wrong. And then watching the games back with the players, it was very obvious that our spacing was off. Our spacing was off between the defense and the midfield. A lot of the time, especially with our 2011s, there was such a big gap when we lost the ball and we were giving the other team so much space. And in the transition from defense to attack, so when we won the ball, then we weren't getting wide and high with our wingers and just wide with our defenders as well. When we were doing that in that 2010 game and the 2013 game, we were having a lot of success. And when we were doing with the 2013, because that's really where I saw it the most, was trying to get the ball to the wingers as soon as the defenders had the ball. Again, lots of success. Now, we were at times not conscious of the other team closing a passing lane, which was due to a couple of factors. One, our center mid was not in the right position, so I wanted my center mid to be in between the forward that's pressing and the winger that's pressing, right? So if they're playing a 2-3-1, the one and the winger, right, the forward and the winger would come in and press, and the midfield, the center mid, has to be in that space in between them, always scanning to try, and as the ball comes to them from our defender, with one touch they should be able to get that ball to the winger and bypass that passing lane, right? So we should be able to constantly build out at the back, and if it's not there with the midfield, then we reset, switch, look at the other side. But I really want to start attacking more. We've had this with our 2010s, I think 2 games in a row, 2 to 3 minutes where we just defense, goalkeeper, and that's not good enough. That's not the way that we want to play. We're gladiators. We want to attack. We want to put pressure. We want to get the ball to the wingers, and we want to go 1v1. So I'm excited to finish off the Chelsea trip. Today I'll talk about Saturday and Sunday. I'll go through the itinerary and we'll go from there. So 8:30 breakfast. Again, honestly, by Saturday I kind of figured it out myself what to do and how to kind of eat right. I ended up Friday going to grocery store, getting some food. So I looked really ridiculous going in to the buffet at breakfast with cucumber and tomatoes and salad dressing, and also some spring mix, just a type of lettuce. So, I looked ridiculous, but I felt healthier and I felt better that day, having able to kind of eat what I want. It took me a couple of days to get ready for it, but yeah, by 9:30 they came, they picked us up from the hotel, and they took us to the academy training ground, which again, absolute heaven for any soccer coach, I'll say that. At 10:30, we watched their U18s against the Arsenal U18s, and that was a really cool game. Again, the physicality is just, it's at a different level. Now, to be fair, I haven't really seen U18s here in Canada, so I don't know how it compares, but the speed of play, very high, the physicality, very high. What I noticed was also a little bit of bad attitude from players, really just kind of negativity. I noticed a lot of that from both teams, it wasn't just Chelsea. But who knows why that happened or, uh, yeah. So, um, sorry, that started at 11 o'clock. And then at 1 o'clock, we left from the training ground, went to Stamford Bridge, and we went back to the hotel, kind of got ready, and then we went to the what I'm calling the academy suite. So we went to where academy players would go if they were watching a game. So what Chelsea does, which I think is really cool, they give a certain age group free tickets with their parents, and then they kind of have lunch before the game at a special place. So we went up there, got to have a nice little lunch before we went to the stadium, and then we went to the stadium for the 3 o'clock game. And I've never been to a stadium before in England. I've never seen an English Premier League game. I've been to TFC games and uh, Canadian men and women's national teams, but I've never been to a Premier League game. So for me, this was a really unique experience, and we sat front row. Now, I hate complaining about this because we were sitting, it wasn't front row, it was the second row. So we were right there. But to watch a game and to analyze a game properly, you can't sit on the second row. So amazing experience, but I was not able to analyze the game, right? It's a lot easier if you're in the middle and kind of, near the middle or end of the first tier of seats. So we couldn't really analyze, but what an experience to sit front row. Absolutely amazing. And what was cool was I got to see Sterling play, and he was on my side as well. His speed is absolutely ridiculous when you see it live. Incredible. And his shielding ability. And we started to talk about this in the academy of different ways to shield. So we always talked about, the bully thing with, arm in between the bully and the ball, and then get low, and shield goes up. So we've spoken about that on the show many times, but the way that he shields is a little different. Well, very different, actually. What he does, which I think is super interesting, he'll actually get right up on the player. He'll stick his butt out and get low. He'll put his arm out. Oh my God, this is the first thing that comes into my mind. Like an anime character who's running. I know that's a weird thing to say. I know that. Stick with me. So essentially what that means is both hands are back and straight back. And they're kind of up. I don't know how else to explain that. So your butt is low, and I'm going to do my best to explain this. Your arms are behind you as high up as they can go. Okay? Both arms. And the defender, with their body shape, they're usually open to one side. That side, you're going to take the arm and you are going to essentially hold on. Okay? You're not grabbing, you're just holding on with your hand onto their shoulder. So I want you to try and imagine that. Okay? I'm going to go through that again. There's a player right on you. Okay? You stick your butt out to create distance. Your arms go back, and essentially you're kind of putting them in like a small little bubble. Okay? Now, think of a player's defensive shape, right? They're low. We call it surfboard, right? Where they're essentially in that kind of like a surfboarder would be, or a snowboarder, that type of defensive position. And your arm just goes on that player's furthest shoulder from you. What's really great is you're not grabbing, okay? You're just putting your arm there. If that player tries to cut across that arm, you essentially spin away. Okay. And I would bookmark this section and try this with someone because it's really, really powerful. And if he comes out from the other side, you'll feel it from the other side and then you can turn in. So a lot of these spin turns are really coming from that shielding position that I saw. It was really cool. Yeah, that's kind of the best way I can explain it. And yeah, so watched him play really good. Chelsea lost. As a neutral, I didn't really care. Everyone else did. They were really upset. There was a kid behind us who was crying, which was pretty sad. But what an experience, going to a game and the before, during, after the game, we kind of stayed and we were there essentially till they kicked us out of the stadium, which was cool. So great experience. After that, the game finished at 5, and then I had some time to explore. I went for dinner, found a nice little Korean barbecue place where you kind of make your own food, grill your own food, and that was nice, good experience. And yeah, Sunday came around, same thing with breakfast. At 9:30, went to the training round. This was one of my favorite days too. This was a full day of essentially watching the U14s play. So the U14s were my favorite team that I watched that weekend, and they were coached by one of the people who was running the experience. That day, the Sunday, they had a mini tournament. I think it was like a qualifier for something, and they ended up playing 3 different teams. Let me see if I remember them. One of them was Fulham. One of them, I want to say, was Arsenal. Southampton was there. Sorry, it wasn't Arsenal. It was Blackpool, I think. So it was those 3 teams. We ended up watching all the games, and that was a cool experience because U14, they're a year older than our U13, so I'm kind of familiar with that age group, and I really got to see their level of play. I got to see the physicality. I got to see speed of play. I really got to see everything, and what was great was I didn't just get to see Chelsea. I got to see 3 different high-level clubs. So I got to see a variety of teams, and the thing that was most noticeable was Chelsea's size and how physical they were. Other teams had really small players, skinny players. Chelsea were just strong. And that's due to their player care, which is what we want to try and really get into our academy. That player care part is so important. They were fast, agile. Their 1v1s on the wings, they would just go for it because they were so strong on the ball. They weren't able to be kicked off the ball. So that was a really cool experience to watch all these different teams compete. And yeah, Chelsea ended up winning all 3 games, or I think they might have tied the first one. I don't know. It's been a while now. So, but they came out on top of the group, and yeah, that was until 3:20. From there, I actually went back, did a stadium tour, which was really cool. Took lots of pictures, and then after that, again, the rest of the night was free. I found a random place, got a massage, got dinner, and just relaxed. Monday was just pretty much me waking up and then leaving. We didn't. What else did? Yeah, that was pretty much it. So woke up, got ready, and left and went home. So overall, it was a really cool experience. I've said this before. Going in with a positive attitude to places like this is absolutely crucial. If you go in with expectations about certain things, most of the time they're not going to be met. So any experience that you have, whether it's soccer, I think, or life in general, go in with an open mind. Go in, with the attitude, I'm going to learn something today. I really don't care what it is. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to get something out of this, and just have that positive mindset. It's also really important to ask questions, ask so many questions to the point where people don't like you for it. And that's, sorry, not don't like you, but you kind of get that look from everyone. And that's what I got. I got that look so often in every single meeting, and I didn't care. You have to ask questions because that's the only way to learn, right? You can listen to a 2-hour presentation, but after that 2-hour presentation, you should realize the type of person who is presenting. You should understand what their credentials are, you should understand who they are, and from there, you can ask the questions that really interest you about that specific person's field of study. So, for example, the U16s, they were running a session before they came in, and they told us what they were going to run. Honestly, I don't run anything with U16s, nor will I for a while. So I don't really care about how they're running their session at U16 at a professional academy. That is nothing, we can't compete with that. So instead, I focused on the person who was running the meeting and asked them questions about, it was for the girls program, asked them about how do you get players, how do you scout players, what's, all this kind of information that this person would know that interests me. And that's so important when you go into these places to take that attitude, not, okay, well, they're talking about starting with a warm-up, then they're going to do a possession-based game with, this and that, and actually before that they went into a drill with no opponents. It was just passing patterns, right? It doesn't matter. That stuff didn't matter to me, right? Whether I agree with it, not agree with it. I'm sure you all know my stance on running passing patterns with no opponent. That wasn't the point, right? The point during that presentation was, who is the presenter? What's their knowledge base that I could just ask questions about? Same thing with the player care, the strength, right? While we were there, we watched a strength session with the U14s. It was like it's a player care part of it where they essentially just movement, strength, agility, that all they did for that particular practice, they played dodgeball, right? Doesn't matter. We had a full hour with them. I spent probably half an hour of that asking questions, and I was probably one of the only ones that did that. And I think the rest of the people that went missed an opportunity. That's my personal belief. They didn't really ask a lot of questions, which is fine. Some of them weren't high-level coaches. Some of them were in completely different positions. But I personally think when you're in a room with someone that is very knowledgeable about anything, and you are stuck in a room with that person or stuck on a plane, get to know them. I think everyone knows something. Everybody has a piece of knowledge that can help you in life. So that's really important. But that's pretty much it. Next week is March break, and we have our March break camp again. So I'm really excited for that. We have a good group of kids coming. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I always love running March break. This March break, my big focus is on nutrition. Now we're going to run those nutrition sessions, I guess you want to call them, during lunchtime. So while the kids are eating, I'll do a presentation on nutrition. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm breaking it down. So I'm breaking it down from the different parts of nutrition. Let me just kind of find that because I actually have it open here. So what is sports nutrition? I'm going to talk about macro and micronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals. Then I'm going to do hydration, the importance of a balanced diet, the role of pre and post workout nutrition, listening to your body, and then I have some resources for the kids as well. Now, here's the question: where did I get all this information? I did research. That's the answer to that, right? So I did research, found lots of YouTube videos, found lots of information. So it's going to be a combination of watching videos, me lecturing as well. So I'm really excited for that. The soccer part is obviously going to be great. Just to have our academy players for a full week, for a long period of time, just does really well, I think, overall. So as you know, I don't make money off the show at all. I really wanted to honor Tom and what he did. So I'm never going to charge anything for the show. All the advertisers that are ever come on the show, again, I don't charge them money for it. Usually I'll ask for some equipment or anything like that, but I really wanted to stay true to Coaching Soccer Weekly's origins, which is what I loved most about the show. Also inspired by Tom. He had a way for subscribers to pay a small fee if they were interested in kind of going above and beyond and supporting the show. Like I've always mentioned, there are so many amazing ways that you can help the show. Telling a coach, leaving a positive review. Those are all things that really help the show. If you're looking for something else, then I've decided that I'm going to start a newsletter. It's going to be called The Insider, and it's another great way to support the show. I'm going to be using the profits from that to get a new mic. I have an empty room that I really want to turn into a podcast room. So really trying to make this a professional setup, and really just as much as possible, because that's very expensive to get. So if that is something that you are interested in, it's going to be bi-weekly. And what's really great about this is, like I said before, I've always wanted to keep this about soccer. That's what Tom did. That's what I found value in it. And even though Tom very kindly and graciously basically said, you can do whatever you want with the show, I just want to keep it true to what it was. Now, I am not just a soccer coach. What I like to say is that there are two parts of my life that I'm super passionate about. And one you get to see here, and that is the soccer part of it. I am insanely passionate about that. But I'm equally passionate about the business part of this. And that's something that I talk about a little bit, but I don't talk about a lot. I'm reading so many different business books and stuff like that. There's a lot of things I'm doing with Google and Google Ads and all these different parts of the business that are really important to what I do, the other part, the soccer part. So that's what this newsletter is going to be. It's going to be a lot about the business part of what I do. And I think it's great for everyone. There's going to be some life-changing books that I'm going to share and stories and things like that. The content is really what I'm going to be working really hard on. There may not be a lot of videos and stuff like that. There might be a little bit later on once I can get a professional setup going. But the writing, everything that's going in there is really what has changed my life from a business point of view. Now, the newsletter, it's going to be, the reason I'm calling it kind of like the Insider is essentially I'm going to charge like a cup of coffee for it. So it's going to go out bi-weekly and it's going to be $5 a month. So if you divide that by 2, that's like $2.50. It's American because that's what the website does that I'm using. So it's like having a coffee with me, and I'll be doing that bi-weekly. And like I said, I'll be sharing a lot of business content there. And I think all the books that I've read from the business point of view, they're not soccer books. There are no soccer business books. So everything that I'm going to talk about, it's all business related, marketing, operations, finance, and I do share some soccer stuff there. So like the first issue that's going out, it's going to go out every Monday. It's going to have some of the videos that I'm using for the nutrition of the camp. Now that's, I think, really good for everyone, not just soccer players or athletes, even though it's a lecture from a university. So that's something that I'm using in my in my camp. So I'm going to share all those videos. But you'll gain access to that. I'll do a list of books and stuff like that are really life changing for me, and it's going to be really great. I'm really going to try and put in as much value as I can into it, because I know charging for something is a big deal, but I just want to make it clear this is not something you have to do. Just telling another coach, just writing a good review of the show helps me so much. And even going into our community Facebook group. So if this is something that you're interested in, again, that's going to be in the show notes. And the first issue is going to go out on Monday. The show comes out on Thursday. So you can be a part of it. And then it'll go out on the second Monday of every month and the last Monday of every month. And yeah, that's about it. So if that is something you're interested in, great. If not, no worries. I'm still going to be doing the same thing here. There's not going to be a change or anything like that. And what's really great now with this newsletter is that I really don't need any sponsors, right? VO I love because they're so good. Like they've been so good to us, and everyone's using them now. So VO will always be a sponsor. And they're absolutely amazing. And any other soccer specific people who are interested in sponsoring the show, that's fine. But I'll give you an example. I've had so many emails from gambling websites. We want to sponsor the show. That's not ever going to happen, right? This is not that type of show. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I'll bring that up kind of every other week before, or maybe every week, just a little bit, just to kind of tell you a little bit about what's going to be in the new issue. And with the subscription model, all you have to do is unsubscribe, and then you don't get charged for it. But I really want to get a new mic. That's really the point, and the reason that I'm starting this. Like I want a new mic, and they're pretty expensive. So again, nothing is changing about the show. If this is something that you want to do, great. If not, no big deal. And I will put a lot of value into that as well, sharing all of my knowledge that I don't really share here when it comes to the business part. So that's all I'll say about that. I'm really excited about it. And yeah. Thanks for listening to another episode of Coaching Soccer Weekly. Overall, I had such a positive experience with Chelsea, and I would definitely recommend it. I told the head of the trip to send me an email and let me know if there's another one of those that he's going to organize, and if he does, then I will definitely tell all of you about it so that you can try this for yourself as well. Next week, I do have my March break camp. Also, I have practices, so it doesn't look like I'll be able to have some time to record, so I don't think there will be an episode next week. So I will see you the following week, where I'll talk about the March break camp and all the games in between. Again, I don't think I'll be able to even upload a YouTube or anything like that, but until next week, enjoy the journey, enjoy the moments, but most importantly, enjoy the game.
Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end, and you can check out more of our videos right here. And if you haven't done so already, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and the subscribe button.